What is up, everybody? This is Lyle with No Hippie Trucking and Transportation, and I am exactly 2 months in on my success lease with Prime Incorporated. And I've had a few people ask me, what I still think about the lease because they're either in training or about to come to Prime. If I still think that leasing was a good decision. So, just wanted to kind of touch on that a little bit in this video. When I first started doing my research on the lease, I got input from a lot of different places, whether it was just online, on YouTube, comments that people left on my videos, or just people telling me personally. And I was getting, basically the advice was all over the place. So I was hearing, don't lease a truck you're not going to own. And I'm going to do a video on that as well. Too many people worried about what they think they're paying for as opposed to what they're getting out of it. But that's going to be a different video. You're never going to own the truck. Don't lease in the wintertime. You're not going to make any money. Even had somebody tell me I was going to go broke. And I'm glad that person knows more about my finances than me. Maybe I need to hire him as my financial advisor. What else was I hearing? Don't go lease right after, or let me try to remember how it was phrased. Going into a lease right after training is setting you up for financial disaster. Anyway, I've heard a lot of different things. So I took all this stuff into consideration and decided to go into a lease. Luckily, I was able to speak with people personally over the phone that have leases with Prime that kind of broke things down to me very realistically without all the negativity or things like that. So anyway, took all that in consideration, came up in my mind what I thought the lease was going to be and where I thought my minimums were going to be on it. So I went into leasing with a fairly low expectation, and what I could tell you is I'd like to get into the numbers of the lease just because I think that might help people make their decision to go lease, but I did that once and it probably wasn't the best thing I ever did. I just wasn't going to be dealing with the headache. So what I will tell you is that what I'm making on this lease far exceeds what I expected to make on it. Put it this way. I'm doing so well on this lease that I'm actually thinking about going in and talking to Success Leasing and doing a lease purchase on a truck. I'm just not exactly sure what the parameters are on that, but I am going to go talk to them about that. The only thing I know is that you have to put down $14,000, which, the $14,000 isn't necessarily what my concern is. It's just the total terms of the lease. I'm not exactly sure, how long they are. Are there different terms? Is there a buyout? If there is, what is the buyout? Just different things like that. So I will be having a conversation with them pretty soon. Do I lease a truck that's already there? Do I order a new one? These are all things I need to go over with them. So the one thing I can tell you about this lease that doesn't necessarily affect me as much as it may some people is it does fluctuate. And the reason it doesn't affect me is because my entire life since I was 21 years old, all my jobs have been commission sales jobs. So I've been used to fluctuating paychecks, and in the mortgage business, extremely fluctuating paychecks to the point where you might not get paid for a couple months, or you might make what people make in a year in a month. So it was all over the board in that. And what that taught me was to be very conservative with my money. You know what? If you're thinking about leasing, whether it's with Prime or any other company, and you are not able to rein in your spending, or you have high debt, or you can't go without, you can't make it through like the bad time. So, for example, this paycheck I'm getting probably this next week is going to be on the lower end, but it's coming off of the best week that I've had. So if you're the type where you have a good week and then you spend your money based on what you made that week, and then a week comes that you maybe don't have that great of a week, leasing may not be the route for you. I would suggest, I'm not going to tell anybody, what they should or shouldn't do. I feel comfortable in this lease because, especially at this point, because I have the money in the bank to kind of withstand anything, not anything or everything, but well, yeah, I can withstand some setbacks. So, personally, I had that before I got into the lease, but since I've been in the lease, I was able to build that up to where the money that I have on hand, just from leasing with Prime, whether it be the money I have in the bank, the emergency fund, is enough money to where I feel comfortable. So if you got into a lease with Prime, let's say you didn't have any money, you got into it and everything went right, you didn't have any issues, no breakdowns, anything like that, very fast you can set aside enough money to give you that cushion. So don't let that necessarily deter you. If you don't have that money, I just felt comfortable going into it because I had that before I got there. Trying to think if there's anything else about it. One thing I do want to ask, I'm not sure if anybody watches this channel that knows more about that lease purchase. They can kind of put me up on some information before I go in there and talk to them. That'd be great. So if you have that information, kind of let me know what those terms are on that lease. I'd appreciate that. Other than that, listen, I'm happy with the lease with Prime. I'm happy with the terms on the truck. I don't really like, the cost of the truck, all that stuff doesn't really matter to me. What I look at is the total net after everything. So would I rather pay, let's just use stupid numbers. Would I rather pay $3,000 a week on a truck and net, $5,000 after everything, or would I rather pay $700 a week on a truck and net less? To me, the payment doesn't matter. It's what I'm netting every week. The truck is a tool. I really don't look at the money that is spent on that fixed cost as actual payment on a truck. It's just a payment that I have to make. So I'm making what I want to make, more than I thought I was going to make. So we're going to see about getting into that lease purchase before my lease and bonus accumulates to so much where it makes it just dumb for me not to stay in it. So that's going to be a decision that I make very soon. Anyway, that's my thoughts on it. There is going to be a video coming up where I talk about how I look at this lease. That I think it's going to be a video on how I think about this lease in a way I think a lot of people, that's different than the way a lot of people look at whether it be a Prime lease or any lease in general. So I'm going to probably be doing a video on that pretty soon, and it might help people that may not be looking at a lease in that may be looking at a lease in a different way. Anyway, before I stretch this out too long, I just want to thank you guys for stopping by No Hippie Trucking and Transportation. I appreciate it. Comment, subscribe. I'm out.